And I was muted. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coach My Life Live. I am excited about tonight. I am your vision coach, LaToya Early, and your host. I am also a leadership development trainer, helping leaders and coaches truly align their life with purpose so that they can increase their performance, generate profit, and truly impact people. Listen, y'all, if you've been connected to Chase Great, then you guys know that we used to go live really often and we used to call it Coach the Coach, right? We used to call it Coach the Coach, and we will go live and we will go through, it was like hot seat coaching where, I will host an event and then I will bring someone on live with me and then we will go through different coaching strategies and ask different questions. Well, tonight we're mixing it up a little bit. This is something that I've been wanting to bring to the forefront of the Coach My Life Network for a very long time. And I would like to introduce to you LaToya, Coach My Life. Tonight, we have an amazing purpose coach. I was just telling her how it just makes me smile. Kelly has been connected to, she's like an honorary Chase Great. Like she's just been connected to us for so long, probably since maybe in the beginning of conception. And it's just such a joy to see her and her husband still moving forward, still thriving, still growing, and doing the exact thing that God has called her to do as a coach. So I'm going to bring her up to the stage because, y'all, we have exactly 90 minutes. Y'all know I like to talk, I like to coach, all the things, but we're going to stick to these 90 minutes. So I would like to introduce to you guys our purpose coach for tonight, Miss Kelly, who is strategic in helping women discover, start, and monetize their purpose project. So, Kelly, please introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are, what you do, all of the good things that you'd like to share.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited for us to kind of catch up and go over what's new. Yes, like you said, LaToya, we've been going way back, and I'm just so excited about just how you've shown up consistently, how you supported others in this coaching industry, especially from a Christian perspective. So I'm excited about that. So, hi, everybody. My name is Kelly. I am a purpose coach, business strategist, and I help women to discover, start, and monetize their purpose project. And so I help them do that by starting or launching their first online product or service. I'm also a mom of four and a wife. My husband and I, we have a ministry together called the Hope Ambassadors, where we help people to just be who God created them to be and do what God created them to do. And so that's how we're able to kind of tie everything together.
I love it. So make sure you guys take a moment today and go follow their business page. Say the name of the company again with both you and your husband.
Yeah, so our ministry is the Hope Ambassadors. And so you can find us on Facebook, but we also have a YouTube channel. And the YouTube
Okay.
channel is Taurus and Kelly, the Hope Ambassadors. And my name is Kelly with an E. In terms of coaching, you can find us at McLean Coaching and Training on Facebook.
I love it. I love it. Okay, y'all. So we're inviting you into our space. Okay. So if you have comments, if you have questions, our chat box is open. I cannot guarantee that we will address all questions and all comments, but we do welcome them. We are going to spend the next 90 minutes really taking a deeper dive into Kelly's messaging. Something that I focus on deeply as a vision coach, as a leadership development trainer, is learning how to master your life's mission. Something that I've noticed about coaching, and this is one of the reasons why I'm excited about this with Kelly, and I'm switching gears. I'm talking to Kelly now. What I've noticed about coaching, Kelly, is that so many coaches want to sell the program, but they're not willing to live what they're selling.
Right.
Right. So you're not, I'm not, they're not embodying the experience of what's required to package this solution together and really provide it to others and guarantee results. Because we're so used to trying to sell the service, we're not we haven't taken the time to live the service.
Right.
So one of the things after doing your intake, and so what we do is, of course, we go through a list of questions, just kind of gathering more information about you and about your business. And so what I've noticed is that this is just a refresher for you. You just wanted to take the time to really go through your current messaging, go through your current positioning, and how you are communicating to your audience. It just makes sure that it's clear, make sure that they're understanding what the solution that you are offering to their problem. Is that correct?
Yes. And so the last time we worked together, it was probably closer to around the pandemic. And I worked with
Okay.
you and then Coach Bev. And I feel like I left with a lot of clarity around my niche, and things were really starting to take off. And then in 2021, I had our fourth child. And so that was kind of like a reset. We had our fourth child. We went through a lot of transition in terms of our living situation and things like that. We relocated to another state.
Oh,
We've had
yeah.
a lot of
Okay.
different things happening. And throughout that time, I would say that I've been consistent in terms of like making content, or just even growing more so in the space of like ministry and that sort of thing. And so I would say over the last few months or so, I've been getting more intentional about getting back into my coaching. The thing
Okay.
is, I've brought on a lot of new things, and I'm starting to feel like, oh, right, I've got a lot of new things like in the toolkit, but I want to make sure that there's still this central message that's helping me to make sure that I'm one, promoting everything appropriately, but also kind of helping me manage what I'm saying yes to and what I'm saying no to. So since
Okay.
then, my sister and I, we started a candle business, and that's geared towards helping, specifically we want to target women of faith, business leaders, community leaders, church leaders, ministry leaders who want to reset. Like they see their home as their sanctuary, so they're looking for the opportunity to reset so that they can continue to pour from the overflow. So I know that we're trying to keep that consistent with the general message.
Okay.
um I have my flagship programs. I've expanded to being able to offer that into the schools. And so there's a lot going on. And I'm like, I know from experience that clarity is very important, because if not, you can just get souped into doing all the things.
Absolutely. Trying to be everything for everyone. Okay. So you have the coaching business, you
Yes.
have the ministry with husband. What
Right.
tell me the purpose of the ministry with your husband.
Yep. So our ministry, I would say, is really the messaging of Matthew 6:33, seeking the kingdom of God first and his righteousness, and all these things should be added to you. We help using our testimony of overcoming infidelity in our marriage, but also just really what God has been showing us as we're living and growing deeper in our faith with Him. And I believe really challenging others to go deeper in their faith with God. And so, God calling you to do things that may be countercultural or don't look like what everybody else is do. Like most people would say, if you're experiencing something like that in your marriage, the marriage is over. But what happens when God is calling you deeper in that area? What
Hmm.
happens when God is calling you to move to a whole new state, or quit your job and trust Him and live your life out on faith? And so that's really what I would say is the central message up under the Hope Ambassadors, which is helping others to discover who God is and who God's calling them to be, but then also empowering them to go out and be that person that God is calling them to be. And so we do that through hosting weekly group calls. So we'll do marriage calls. My husband will do calls with men. And that's been the primary way that we do that.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. So you have the candle business, and you and your sister are heading that. And
Yes.
the whole point of the candle business is to offer a reset, right? Giving
Yes.
people that peace, that calm, that reset. Okay. And then you said that you're offering your programs. Did you call them flagship?
Yeah, so I have two programs and a certification that I would say they're all related, but they kind of hit people at different points in their
Okay. And
journey.
what is the overall what do people why are people purchasing that program? Like, what are they looking for?
Yep. So overall, what I'm helping women do, specifically moms or stay-at-home moms or people who are transitioning in motherhood, is to rediscover their purpose, their assignment, reconnect with that, and then actually go out and do it. And
Gotcha.
so the two that I mainly have are the Purpose Revival Workshop. And so the Purpose Revival is all focused around giving your purpose back over to God, trusting Him and sitting with Him and understanding what exactly it is God is calling you to do. And then how do you get the clarity and focus to recommit to that and to pursue it. And then the second program is called Call to Launch. And that is a program that's specifically helping you to launch your business,
Okay.
to launch that purpose project.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so let me backtrack a little, because while you may feel like it's a bunch of moving parts, it's really cohesive
Okay.
actually, which makes me smile because it now takes me back to um it aligns with why it's important to master your life's mission, because if you notice in every compartment of what you guys are offering, the root or the core of it is purpose.
Right.
Now, here's my question for the Hope Ambassadors. Do you and your husband, do you guys focus on the purpose of marriage? Do you focus on the purpose of individual marriages?
So right now, what we've really been doing is helping people to grow together in Christ. So when we do our marriage calls, they're really Bible studies where we invite the couples to come on together, and then we're just studying the Bible together. We have like a format that we use to allow them to like grow deeper in their intimacy with God, to pray for one
Okay,
another. And so it's that time. You know how people are always like, you got to pray together. You need to do this together, but you never really have the time to do it. So they're
absolutely.
coming together and having that set time to do that. And
Okay.
in that, they're getting some deeper revelation together about what God is, speaking to each of them.
Excuse me. Have you ever considered making that a focal point in your trainings or in your teachings?
Okay, so like in what way? What you thinking? Because
So when I hear what you guys do, first of all, when I hear your testimony, your message about, the infidelity and still staying the course, understanding the purpose of that, what was the purpose of the experience,
okay.
right? Because here's the thing, what I see, especially in that area, being married, 12 years, of course, we know that marriage has purpose. But do people take the time to really identify what their purpose is in marriage? Because for you and your husband, the experiences that you guys went through pertaining to the infidelity could have been very well aligned to serve the people who have experienced infidelity, helping them to
Absolutely.
draw back closer to Christ, right? So you being and it's funny because I want to kind of go back, you identifying yourself as a purpose coach, everything around you is tied to that.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this: what is purpose coaching to you?
I would say it is really reconnecting with the purpose that God created you for. Like to be able to really understand, like, what is it that I'm here for? What is the assignment? What is my life mission? That's like the terminology that I like to use. Like, what is your life mission statement? Then break that down into like, what is the assignment? How does God want you to actually walk that out and act that out? Because I believe that your life mission statement is something that transcends every area of your life. Like you show up
Absolutely,
everywhere doing that thing. I
absolutely.
didn't mention, but I'm also working on a certification to teach discovering your God-given gifts seminar, because I did know, I do think that that's a key component, like people being able to really pinpoint and understand their gifting, like God created, like giving you a teacher gift versus giving you an administrative gift, and that those sort of things. And I think that that helps people to be able to say, regardless of whether I start a business, like even at home as a mom, like these gifts are going to show up in every area.
Hmm. Okay. So individually, you helping women discover, start, and monetize their purpose project. In the area of the ministry between you and your husband, from what I hear you saying, packaging that around purpose as well.
Okay.
Um, Having, again, we know that we say that we get married, especially as believers, we get married so that we don't sin and burn. Pretty much, at the bare minimum. Not okay,
Right.
yeah, we love each other and all that good stuff and all the things, but
Yeah.
at bare minimum, it's so that we don't burn, right? So, but understanding that, again, the experience that you went through, not saying that God, um, how can I say this? Going through the experiences that you went through, there's a purpose behind it.
Yes.
One of the scriptures that I've been really like focusing on is first John 1 and 2. Count it all joy. Why did I go through this? What is the purpose behind this? And how can I use this to serve other people? So with the infidelity, what was the purpose behind it? Okay, God, did we go through this because we know that it's to build our faith? It's to test our faith, but did you allow us to experience this so that we can be the example to the couple who been told, well, according to the Bible, you can leave if somebody cheat, or well,
Right.
I wouldn't be the one to put up with none of that. But there's a purpose for our marriage. So
Right.
helping individuals identify what is the purpose of marriage, and then what is the purpose of our marriage. Even when it comes to, you may not see it, but even when it comes to this whole candle business and this reset, like that can be incorporated in the marriage portion. That can be incorporated in your personal coaching, because what you're doing is you're helping people um create routine. And
Mm,
if you're saying, okay, this is our moment, this is the purpose of our marriage, is this, okay, well, we have our candles, we have our sparkling cider, and this is our time to reset, just husband and wife. This is our
right.
intimate, our moment of intimacy. What you're doing, the life that you're living right now, and this is just based off of course, what I see on social media, your own testimony of what you've been doing, everything that you do realigns back to this whole purpose place. I don't
Yeah.
know if you, of course, you can't see it because when we're in it, it's harder for us to see when we in it.
Yeah.
But from a person standing on the outside looking in, I can see purpose in I can see the direction in your marriage and your business with your children. And so now this is your family's brand. It's not just your brand.
I
So
love
the
that.
purpose
Yeah.
project sounds more like a cohesiveness of what is the purpose of um the dynamic, the relationship dynamic between you and your children. Really, really magnifying that message of mommy, a stay-at-home mom. You talked about moms who are staying at home. How do you help a stay-at-home mom recognize that to be a part of her purpose, and sending and packaging that and talking about it? You're able to make it clear because you do it.
Right.
Like, this is your life, this is your day to day. Don't get me wrong, I get it. We you may do twos and fews maybe outside of the household sometimes, but your overall responsibility is running the household. So now your messaging comes from that. Moms, what are you doing to start the day? What is the purpose of you making sure
Mm,
your babies have breakfast every morning before school? What is the purpose of, and continuing to drive that purpose is not only for church or only for, specific assignments. Purpose is universal. And if I can help you apply purpose to every part of your life, or help you identify purpose in every part of your life, it makes challenges easier. It makes circumstances easier, right? So let me
love that.
backtrack. Let me backtrack. Okay, so what do you, how do you think purpose helps the people that you are coaching, that you're um, serving through the Hope Ambassadors, that you're serving through your flagship programs? How do you think that's helpful to them?
Yeah. So as you were talking, so like there's purpose where it's like a noun, right? Like like a thing, but purpose is
Mm-hmm.
also intentionality. It's like
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
purposeful. So I think having intentionality when you mention whenever you're going through things. That's one of the things I do feel like I could emphasize more in my content. It's like, even through the midst of transition, even through the midst of this going on, that going on, how do you continue to have purpose and intention in everything you're doing? And so I think when we shift the focus from purpose being like this thing I have to figure out and achieve, you know what I mean? To like,
Yep.
purpose is how I show up every day. Purpose
Absolutely.
is like my
Absolutely.
ability to like laser in and focus in that. So for instance, like, it's no longer I'm just watching the show, right? Like, no, like I'm gonna show up and watch this show as like some me time. Like, how do I make everything that I do more purposeful and intentional versus just kind of going through the motions, like letting the day
Absolutely.
just kind of run away with you. Then weeks go by, months go by, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And I think a lot of times that's where we can get to as moms, where we wake up and we're kind of like, whoa, like this ship is running me. Like I'm not running the ship anymore. So I really want to bring them back and focus and let them know that you do have, dominion. You have dominion over these areas in your life. And how do you show up and make choices? How do you identify what choices are in your hands? How do you surrender what's not under your control and trust God with that? You know what I mean? Really surrender to Him. But then how do you also, the things that He is giving you control and dominion over, make choices that are going to move you forward?
Yep. And that's a great way for you to expand in your content, because like you said, now it's not just about, oh, let me help you discover your life's mission,
Right.
and everybody think that's this loud, big revelation moment where the lights are blinking and the thunder is happening. Like, no,
Hmm.
no, guys, no, guys. Understanding your life's purpose is understanding what your day-to-day assignment is. What value do I add to the day? What value do
Exactly.
I add to the lives of the people that I'm surrounded by, that I'm connected to, that I'm assigned to impact? When you're able to identify that value, then that's when you're able to really magnify the impact that you have on people. So in your content, in your messaging, I think now you're in a place where, okay, for the longest time, we've talked about, again, discovering this monumental moment, right? No. Now I want to teach you how to identify in every aspect of your life, in every walk with your children. What is my okay, our purpose with our children? Yes, we're to raise them and train them up in the way that they should go and make sure they're healthy and clothed. But it's bigger than that. And the moment that you can help moms recognize that their purpose in their children's life is to help them identify who they are in their life, what does that look like? And how can you coach that mom through that? When you talk about the candle business, when you say, okay, this is our premier package, where this premier package is going to, it creates a space of meditation. When you're getting ready to go into your prayer closet, set the tone, set the atmosphere. This gives you an opportunity to really submerge yourself into, you know, whether or not you're praying or whether or not you're studying, so that you can gain more clarity. When you're talking about it with the husband and you guys are coming together for the hope ambassadors, it's okay, wives, this is our moment. What is your purpose as
Hmm.
his wife? What
Yeah.
is your purpose in this marriage? Okay.
Wow.
And I want to use your experience because it's so powerful, and because we have the way that social media tells people to live their life. You hear a lot of people telling you to turn the other cheek. Oh, I wouldn't deal with that. Oh, I wouldn't I wouldn't keep going through that. But when you understand that your marriage is an assignment from God, you show up different.
Yeah.
So how can Kelly teach women that, yes, this may have happened, whether or not it's infidelity, whether or not it's finances, whatever it may be. Yes, this has happened, but what was the purpose of it? Once you
Right.
identify, why did God allow me to experience this, then now you're able to take that person to the next transition into their life. Now they've expanded their way of thinking. They've expanded their perspective. Now they're looking at things differently. Now it's not a blame game for everything, right?
Right.
So, looking at going back. So we've been talking about the how all of your brands can have a cohesive look. They already do.
Okay.
Now it's up to you in your messaging to connect them,
Yes.
right? So that's all you're doing. Now all you're doing is you're adding purpose to the candles. You're adding purpose to the flagship programs. Well, they already have purpose, but you're adding purpose to Hope Ambassadors, and you're creating a message that's saying, listen, not only am I going to help you discover purpose, but I'm going to show you how do you recognize your purpose and your value in every aspect of your life.
No, I really
And
like that. And I think one thing I've been noticing about this season is that there's been so many things that I've started, and when I go back and like start looking in my Google Drive and stuff, like the things have already been done or created.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so a few years ago, Taurus and I actually were exploring helping couples come together and like start something together or working together on things because we're starting to work through the challenges that come when you work together, with your
absolutely.
spouse and things like that. And as you mentioned, I was like, we already had started working on some of that stuff. And I'm sure if I go back, I can find some of the messaging and some of the things that
Mhm.
we were starting to kind of pull together.
Nope, absolutely. So tell me this, what does, because this is now an important part of your message. When we talk about messaging before, one of the things that we will identify are the behaviors.
Hmm.
What are the behaviors of the moms that you are called to coach? What are the behaviors of the wives? It sounds like it may be time for you to start expanding your language from stay at home moms to also incorporate wives, also incorporate, because now you're stretching what purpose is to people, and it's not just, like I said, that this explosive moment that I've identified purpose. No, I want to help you identify what it looks like across the board. So what I would ask you is, what did identify, or have you identified purpose in your children's life? Have you identified your purpose or with your husband in your own marriage? Like, what is Kelly's purpose to being married to her husband?
Yeah,
Have
I think
have you done that?
Yeah, so I think for me, let's to go back to like learning about different your gifts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those were like some big eye openers for me. Earlier on in our marriage, when I was still adjusting to being a stay-at-home mom and feeling like I was totally unequipped and like, what is this thing I got myself into? Like, I want to go back to work. One of the things my husband was telling me was that like a lot of those skills and things that you want to use at work, like, we can use them here, right? Like we can use some of those things. And it was like a snap for me. And that's pretty much like the beginning of when I realized that these things could transcend across different things. And so, for one, I have a teaching gift and an administrative gift. Those are my higher gifts that I operate in. And so, for sure, like what that looks like with my kiddos is like, say for instance, let's say they're trying something new or whatever and they fall down. Like now I know that I'm the mom that's gonna be like, okay, like you gotta try that again though. Like
Mm-hmm.
we can't
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
we gotta
Mm-hmm.
figure out like what happened and keep going. But before, when I didn't realize myself and I'm looking at other moms, I'm like, oh no, like should I be more nurturing or should I be more compassionate or should I be more this or that? And
Mm-mm.
so I think even it has shown up obviously like in my marriage where it's like, yes, like, this is my best friend, like I love him, but also like I always think about that quote on Mean Girls where the teacher's like, I'm a pusher, I push people. And like I know that about myself. Now I
Mm-hmm.
have had to learn how to navigate that, you know what I mean? Because your gift can also like get in the way sometimes. So I've had to learn to navigate that, be like, would you like feedback right now or no? Like, would you like,
Oh
do
my
you need
God.
that push or do you not need the push? But knowing that, about myself, it's like that is something that is very valuable, I think, to our marriage, to my husband. I think that God put us together for a reason. I think having an aha moment that like God gave me my kids for a particular reason. I didn't have to try to be a different mom. I just had to really accept who I was and pull out those things. And again, it goes back to like purpose, right? So like being intentional about how I'm wired, how God created me. And that doesn't mean like there's not areas about ourselves that need improvement or that we have to make adjustments, like the example I gave with my husband. But if I try to bury certain things, or I'm looking at other, people and saying like, oh, maybe I need to be like that, or maybe I need to model that, I'm missing out on the very thing that God was trying to, put together when he joined us together.
Okay. It's so funny that you say this. So I I went to a conference about 2 weeks ago. Jesse Cole. Are you
Oh
you're familiar
yeah,
with Jesse Cole? Yes.
yes, yes.
So I went to his conference, wonderful conference. I got a chance to sit down and talk to his wife. And I was like, I
I
just have
love
a
her,
question.
and we have the
Yes,
same birthday.
cool. I was like, I have a question. What is it like being married to somebody like Jesse? I know it probably sounds hilarious, but we're the dreamers. We're the,
Yes,
like you said, we're the pushers. We're the ones like, listen, you can do this. And she like, girl, let me tell you. And I asked because I know how it is. I wanted to hear the perspective of her so that I can have a better understanding of what my husband
yes.
probably be going through, right? And so the mere fact that you just said, I'm learning how to navigate through, when I tell you we just had this conversation and I was like, I think I be doing too much and I'm sorry. Like I need to learn how to pull back because I'm like, go, you can do it. I don't care what mountain is in your way. We're gonna move it, type thing. And so being able to coach other wives on how to navigate that. One thing,
Mm,
being able to coach other wives who are married to dreamers, being able to coach wives who are married to entrepreneurs. How can you help them see how to navigate that, right? Because our husbands are the head of the household, our husbands are the lead. But when you're the wife who can see, can see bigger, can see greater, how can you help a wife be that support to her husband, whether or not he's an entrepreneur or he's in leadership or he's in corporate or whatever he is? How can Kelly teach the wife her purpose or her role in that marriage so that together they can reach goals, together they can, make it to that next level? These are the areas that's going to expand you in your messaging and in your marketing. I want to say something to you. I don't know. You might not like it, but when
yeah.
if it keep popping up, that means it's uncomfortable.
Okay.
So I know that you're saying business strategies,
Uh
and
huh.
I get it. I do. I get it. I get it. Especially looking at your experience in business, we always have something to add to someone else in business. But when I hear what you do, I hear it so much louder of you being the person to go in and help people maximize versus your messaging being business strategist.
Mm,
It kind of disconnects from everything else that you're doing.
okay. Okay.
But I get it. So if we were to maybe adjust the wording a little bit, maybe not necessarily. So if you're Kelly the purpose coach, right? Helping women, helping wives, helping moms, however, discover, start, and monetize their purpose project. I feel like the monetization part is that triggering moment to get people to buy
Mm. So
because
you
we
know,
feel like money sells.
so you want to know what's interesting? The last few people that I've worked with as clients, and especially the one person in particular has been an ideal client, and I can't remember who but I just know that this has come up a couple times because it's changed my perspective. I'm working with them, and they are super passionate about their purpose project, but money was not the motivating factor.
Yeah,
Like I had to talk, them through like pricing. I had to talk them through like I understand that that's not the motivation, but like, we do need to like, because I have that strategy mind where I'm like, okay, but in order for this
absolutely.
to be sustainable, X, Y, and Z. But honestly, And this is something that I've been like really sitting with God about, like, okay, like I know, and this is why this call is so timely, that specifically with my messaging, I wonder even if it could repel people at times, because I think that the person that I'm called to work with, and they do want to launch their purpose projects. They do want to
Absolutely.
launch the thing, but by and by, they're like, the money is not even like really the motivating factor.
I can see that.
Hmm.
1000%. What I can see, or what I admire most about what you're doing in the season of expansion, like you're in a season of expansion right now, where God wants you to see bigger, and stop minimizing stop minimizing it because it's purpose. It's like,
Hmm.
you know, I know how you feel. I know how you feel when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But don't minimize it, because as you just saw, the different areas that he's called you to. When you think about, and this is so timely. When you think about your ideal client, right? And I was taught this, we were taught this together. This has just been the formula of building a business, right? We're to go after the avatar. Who is your ideal client? Who is your perfect client? All the things, right? And so, what God has been showing me is that we focus a lot on identifying who this person is versus recognizing we are who
Right.
the person is.
Yeah.
And so, one thing that you just talked about is transitioning from a full time corporate 9 to 5, making my own money, and you want me to stay home with these kids. What is that? What does that look like? That's a lane for you, Kelly. What does that look like? What does it look like, you being the coach to a mom who has to, so often we want to hire a coach to transition out of our 9 to 5 into a business. But what
Hmm.
about
Hmm.
coaching a mom transitioning from her 9 to 5 to her family? What if your message is to promote stay-at-home moms? Here's the thing. It's so funny. I talked to my friend, we talk every morning while she's on her way to work. And her husband be like, "Girl, just stay at home. You don't have to go to this job. I don't know why you keep going to this job. They have a full house, the whole nine."
I
And she's
know why
like,
she's going to the job though, but go ahead.
right, we know, but she's in this like, no,
Mm,
I have to keep my independence. I gotta
yes.
keep my independence. And what we have to start teaching, and it's not for everyone. I understand. So women, if you want to continue to thrive and work your 9 to 5 and make your money, listen, by all means. I'm talking to the wife who knows that her responsibility is building the household.
Right.
There's a difference between operating as an independent and operating as an interdependent. And I
Right.
think that we completely omit the interdependency, and it's like either I'm dependent or I'm independent, and I don't want to be dependent because I need to make sure.
Yeah.
But again, step back. What is the purpose of my marriage? Helping your client identify the purpose of their marriage. When you help a wife identify her purpose in her husband's life, and then you help the stay-at-home mom identify her purpose in that season, it's not that you can never go to work again, but in this season, social media is building your children more than you are. You
Mm.
need to be at home.
And I really do believe that there is room for us to still build something at
Yes,
home. And
yes.
that is so funny because that's what was modeled for me. Like my mom was the first person I saw to do it. She started off doing hair. She had a little salon set up in the basement, and then her and my dad went into real estate, and she was home. And then when I, got married, we got married right when I was finishing grad school, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna go to work, but I never ended up going to work because we just had the kiddos, and I'm like, okay, when they get older, then we have another kiddo. And then eventually I was like, okay, there are skills and there are things that I can do, where I can still, like, even now, where I'm at a space where it's like our youngest is getting older and she's getting ready to go to preschool. And it's like, I really still feel led that if I do enter back into the workforce, it needs to be something working from home. So then guys, like, hello, like, you got these different skills and things, like, trust me and just do it. So I've been dusting that side off again and like going back out there and like pitching and that sort of thing. And so I think that's probably more so where the business part comes in. But I think I have not been articulating it, you know what I mean, in a way that sounds good. I think what would sound more cohesive is that you're home, you know what I mean, and that you can still use your gifts and talents to
Yes.
leverage them
Yes.
to build something
Yes.
around your family instead of
Absolutely.
going out and doing something and then you having to try to figure out your family around that.
What if what if your assignment is to make that look doable?
Right.
When I think about the purpose project, what if the purpose project is the support to the purpose? What you just said.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so I work from home. I don't coach 8 hours a day, right? I
Right.
don't, I'm not training and teaching 8 hours a day. So what am I doing? Whether or not I'm fulfilling my household duties, whether or not I'm doing what my husband needs for me to do, what I do still have other contracts with other organizations in
Right.
Michigan. I work with them and do the things that I do with them. I have my clients and I had to step back and say, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to be clocking a 9 to 5. Number one, I'm teaching my children diversity. I'm teaching my children flexibility. I'm teaching my children how to use their skills, their gifts, and their talents to monetize. Again, we have gotten into this space where we everyone's all the wives' lives are supposed to look the same.
Hmm.
I commend mothers who work a 9 to 5 and then come home and be talking about cooking dinner and washing clothes and being a wife to their husband. Listen, I commend y'all because y'all got it better than me. I be like, half this stuff wouldn't even take part if I still had to go to a 9 to 5. Like,
Right.
no bad. But the mere fact that before we jumped on this call, I was able to cook dinner, make plates, put the towels in the dryer, set my computer up, make sure my husband came in and got his, all the things.
Yep.
What if, Kelly, your assignment in the lives of women who desire that? Because we're in this soft era. I want this soft life that everybody keeps talking about. What if your assignment is to help women transition into the stay-at-home mom role? What does that look like? How can you support her? How can you help her see her purpose in that?
Yes, I mean, as you're saying it, I'm even thinking because it's bringing me back to what mental perspective shifts had to happen. You know what I mean? For me to even get there, because
Absolutely.
sometimes you're just like, oh, like, just do it, like, you know what I mean. But now I'm thinking through, like, no, I know why the person is still will still go to the job even though this is a thing. It's because of the
Do you talk to
validation.
her? I was just getting ready to say, do you talk to that woman in your content?
I haven't been. I haven't been.
Because she's there.
Hmm.
She's there. She's loud. She's like, I want to stay at home, but is it going to take away from my independent my womanhood?
Yeah,
We've been taught that I need to make my own money and I'm not getting ready to ask my husband for no money. Like, come on,
and not
y'all.
wanting to lose yourself.
And not want to
You know what I
lose
mean?
yourself in
Yeah.
that.
And then
But guess
even the shift to becoming partners, you know what I mean? Be able to come
Yep.
partners in that. That's a shit. I mean, I'm now got like all the content is stirring up.
See, but guess what though? This is all content of your day-to-day life because
Right.
you're mastering your mission every single day. Every day that you wake up at the crack of dawn and you make breakfast and you make lunches and you clean the kitchen and then you do whatever and then you do whatever, you're mastering your mission. I'm living out the exact solution that I'm teaching to my
Right.
clients, that I'm positioning to my clients. This is what makes it more authentic. This is what makes your content easier to express to people, because it's like, just the way that you came on and introduced yourself. Like, what do you mean? I do this every day. This is who I am. This is what I do. So being able to identify that in your messaging. Going back a minute or two, we talked about behaviors. Now, I
Yes.
know you recall, that's like one of my things, identify the behaviors.
Yep.
Now that you are in this new space and you're now seeing how you're able to really expound on purpose much greater, helping wives, helping moms transition, what type of behaviors do you see from your potential client?
Well, I think a big one is looking for achievement for validation. So, trying to get achievement after achievement, finish one thing, starts another thing, another goal. Um,
Was that
that's,
you?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, certifications, like I had to put myself on a timeout because you're looking for validation from the accomplishment or hitting a goal, but you haven't crossed over to actually like implementing. You know what I mean? Like, how do I actually use the skills? How do I, because you have to validate yourself in that. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to,
Mm-hmm.
like, before you reach a goal in that area, like, you have to be able to work without somebody patting you on the back, without having a manager, tell you you're indispensable and crying when you go to quit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
and it is a transition from that to being home with your kids who aren't always going to reciprocate or show that type of feedback, right? Like, they're not going to be like, you're indispensable today. You really helped us reach that bottom line. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're not going to give you that type of validation. And so really healing that is a big issue. I think you mentioned like the independence part, right? And I think that reveals probably some trauma,
Mm-hmm.
there in terms
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
why do you need to be fiercely independent, trust issues,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
which
mhm,
are exasperated if you have issues in your marriage. You know what I mean? Now you really have to deal with the trust issues. You can't just put a band-aid over them. Like, now you have to, like, reconstruct things from the ground up. um, and really understanding that the trust issues that you're experiencing, whether it's from a spouse or um, the reason why you feel like you have to take care of yourself, is really revealing a trust issue with God. You know what I mean? And
mm,
like, are we ready to go there? Like, God, like, do I trust you with me? Like, do I trust you to validate me? Do I trust you that if I don't do anything, that I'm already good enough because you made me, because you made
mhm,
me fearfully and wonderfully made, you know? So those are some of the behaviors I would say, like definitely seeking validation and
mhm.
needing to maintain independence because of trust or feeling like they have to self-preservation.
Okay, okay. When you talk about validation, what does that look like?
So I would say validation looks like, I'm trying to think of how to say it outside of just like an example, but
Okay, wait. Let me
mhm,
rephrase it. What does the behavior of a woman look like who's seeking validation?
okay. So one way that I would say is perfectionism, wanting to uh like overproduce, maybe like a workaholic type of situation, like
Okay, okay.
you are over, like, you know what I mean, like you feel like you have to go over and above and beyond, right? Because you want someone to tell you you did a good job, you know what I mean, or you're fiercely afraid of disappointing or letting somebody down. So there's some people pleasing in there. So I would say in terms of behaviors, overachieving, perfectionism,
Mhm.
procrastination because of fear of something not being perfect. Um,
So identifying these different behaviors, right? I want you to create scenarios. So when you are sharing your message, when you're sharing your content, picking out from this list and explaining what this person looks like, right?
okay.
So let's say a workaholic, which is 1000%. They're over delivering. I need to show up. I need to make myself be seen and heard. Like, what does that scenario look like so that the mom, so that the wife, so that the woman can see herself in that? Like, dang, like, you was off at 6 o'clock. Why you still working? Well, because I want to make sure, and I just gotta listen. When I tell you that, and I say that because we share all the time. What you've been called from is what you're being called to, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I noticed about self is I used to always try to make sure everything was done in that day. Like, oh, I got to make
Mm,
sure if I got a bunch of emails, like, I got to make sure I send out every response, or I got to make sure I answer everything, and I have to hurry up and do it. And then one day I was like, but why do you do that?
mhm.
Right. And it's like, because I want people to know I'm on top of my game.
Yep.
But why are you seeking validation from people for them to be the ones to tell you? Already know you on top of your game. So you don't have to do that. But
Yeah.
that type of scenario, and pulling that out of women so that they can see themselves in it. So
Yeah,
what
no, and today what it looks like for me, because when you get delivered from these things, you still are. I think the misconception is like when you deliver from something, like you never deal with it, but really you learn, right? The lessons that you learn, you then have to apply. So like
mm-hmm,
now, like for instance, I'm working with a client, and I have to literally talk to God through my projects so that I don't fall into like overachievement. I have to say, God, I need your
yeah,
grace. I need your favor on this project. I need your insight. You tell me, you give me some supernatural insight. Tell me what to do. Tell me when I'm doing too much. And I'm going to do my best and put my best foot forward. And I'm going to trust you that you're going to
absolutely.
like, and that's what ends up happening. Then the client will be like, oh, wow, how did you know this? Or how did you know that? But when we want to do it on our own strength,
Mm-hmm.
that's what leads to burnout. And you have to keep doing that over and over again, because then you do end up missing the mark because you're trying to do something in your own strength that you're not equipped to do.
Absolutely.
Then something falls through the gaps. Now you're in that cycle of like, now I got to prove something because I wasn't enough to like get
Mm-hmm.
it done.
And I think that that's your sweet spot.
Mhm.
What you're saying right now, you said you wanted to use this moment, and let me do a quick refresher, because we definitely been in and talking and doing all the things. If you are just joining us, if you are catching this live, I am with Purpose Coach Kelly, and we're coaching through refreshing her messaging, refreshing her client, her potential client that she want to work with, and how can we truly take her business and the idea of what she do, how can we expand it, how can we grow it, and it's really through expanding the message and who her messaging is for. And so we've been taking some time and just kind of going through some questioning, getting clarity on what it is Kelly want, how she wants to serve her client, and who her client is and what they're currently experiencing. And so what we just shared were behaviors of the client that she serves. They're perfectionists. They want everything to be perfect. Well, why do they want everything to be perfect? Because they're seeking a level of validation. Well, that validation comes, or that need for validation comes from a place of insecurity.
Mhm.
Have you identified where that insecurity comes from? Right? Overproducing or overworking, being a workaholic, needing someone to tell you that you're doing a good job, procrastinating. These are all behaviors. And so we've been identifying, not only as a purpose coach, does Kelly businesses all come together quite nicely, but we've also identified how she's able to expand the brand and the mission. And how Kelly is able to expand the mission is because she's been living it. That's the most important part. We shared in the very beginning of this. I coach coaches, and what I found in a lot of behaviors is coaches want to sell the solution. They're not willing to live the solution. And this is why businesses fail in the first year. This is why a lot of coaches have a hard time getting clients. It's because you're trying to offer someone something that you're not living, right? I'm trying to offer you, oh my God, I can give you this amazing, shiny blue car, but you don't even know how to drive. You're not even teaching yourself how to drive, but you want to sell this car. And so hearing Kelly's story is just, it makes me happy because she's living what she's selling. And because she's mastering the mission, she's mastering the message, she can monetize it. And so that's where we are. Of course, Kelly is very fluent in her monetization of her services, but something that we've kind of pulled out of this is I don't think that your client is looking for monetization. I think they're looking for cohesiveness. I think they're looking for, I think your client, based off of our conversation tonight, I believe that your client is looking for the strategy to go against the grain, to go against the status quo, to go against the norm.
Okay.
How am I able to maximize myself being something that I was taught, being something different, than what I was taught to be. We were taught as moms to go to work and, contribute. I don't, a lot of marriages do live by the 50-50 business model. My household don't live by the 50-50 business model. I don't borrow money from my husband. My husband don't borrow money from me. But these are all principles that are loud on the outside saying this is what you're supposed to do. But what about the wife who's on the inside like, but I don't want to be that way. It's okay that my husband and I share finances, but how do I navigate through that? How do I support my husband as he continues to climb his ladder of success wherever he's going? How do I be that wife? How do I be the stay-at-home mom? And I think that now that Kelly has mastered that area, 4 babies, Kelly, girl. These 3, I say anything over 2 is like 5. So I know that you've already, you know what it's like, but what if your role in their lives, what if that is the purpose project? What if the purpose project for you may be the business they're looking to launch, but the purpose project may be what they're supposed to be doing in that season? My project for now is to be a stay-at-home mom. How do I maximize that? And now shifting into that language, talking to that mom, being more, and I think I believe I've seen content with you being more transparent about, you being at home with the kids and the things that you do with them, but helping the mom see that it's not foreign, that it doesn't take away from your independency. As a wife, you're not independent. You are supposed to be interdependent. What does that look like? And how do I embody that role without feeling less than or inferior or like a child? All of the areas that you've been able to navigate through, all the areas that you've had to take a moment as a well-educated Black woman, you've had to look in the mirror and say, I done went to school, I done did all of this stuff, and I am at home doing this. Why, Lord? There's a woman standing in the mirror asking herself that, and she doesn't know how to navigate through the answer. And she's struggling on the inside. She's struggling because the world is telling her to be this way, but she knows that she's supposed to be this way, but she doesn't know how because her mother wasn't it. My mother worked 3 jobs, but Kelly came from a home where her mom was flexible. And she was still able to make an income and take care of her babies and take care of her household and do all the things. What if that's the lane that you were running from?
I think so. And I think even in terms of like the purpose revival, I think that that's what it is, right? It's like you began with an idea of what you thought purpose was, right? Which was maybe whatever you see on Instagram, or whatever was told you were told when you were younger. But God is giving you a new purpose, and then even breathing new life into your gifts, into your talent, into those things. I do think that it's important to really hold on to the piece where I'm helping them to identify their gifts and their talents and
Mm-hmm.
how those things are used
Mm-hmm.
across the board, because
Mm-hmm.
I think identity is a big component. I didn't mention that before, but with the Purpose Revival workshop, their kingdom, I understand their kingdom identity, so who they are in
Mm-hmm.
Christ,
Mm-hmm.
but then also understanding how that translates over to those most important relationships, meaning like their spouse, their children, and then the people that they're called to serve as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's all in your programming, like you
Mhm.
already have it. Even the monetization part, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary for the overall message. That's just a part of the program.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to, because you're capable and qualified to support them in this area, that's something that you can customize into,
Right.
into whatever your private coaching looks like. But for the overall mission, based off of tonight, the cohesiveness of implementing purpose in all aspects of your life and being confident in it and
Yeah.
being clear of it, and not allowing the world to make you feel like it's not good enough, it's not big enough, it's taken away from your independence. It's all of the things that we're taught to prevent us from being what God needs us to be for the people that we're assigned to. God needs us to be a certain way for our children. I think about it all the time. Like, I had to have a moment where I asked myself, am I who I want my boys to marry? Like, do I want their wives to be who I was in that season? And I was like,
Mm,
no.
okay.
I was like, no, I don't want my boys. I don't want that. And so I had to sit back and identify. One of the things that you talked about was mindset.
Yeah.
The mindset shift, and how now you have to identify those silent triggers that we allow in our thought process that keeps us from being confident in our assignment. No, I'm confident in being a stay-at-home mom right now. Why? Because I know that my purpose right now is to build out the example to my children with their wives, so that they can see what their responsibility is supposed to be in the household. All of these things. And so now, as Kelly is living this out, now it's like, oh, so you telling me that all of this was so that I can help the next woman? Yes.
Mhm.
In the next marriage? Yes. So, a couple things, and then we can wrap up, because I don't want it to feel redundant. One of my biggest recommendations is to take out this monetizing, because
Agreed.
yeah, it's so much bigger than that. Using your purpose, your language and purpose to help connect the candles with the flagship programs with Hope Ambassadors. They all connect. They really do. Even if you start developing, like I said, signature scent, signature packages where, I don't know, like I said, meditation, like this when you're in meditation, when you're reading your word, like this when you're going into prayer, just kind of creating that atmosphere, that environment for the people that you're serving. Um, and something else that I wrote down. The identity and the gifts. I would focus on who they will become versus what they need to identify.
Okay.
Because when people hear identity and helping them with their gifts, don't get me wrong, there are some people who want that. But that language matured for you over time.
Right. Okay.
When and I love that your husband told you, listen, the same things that you were doing at that 9 to 5, you can bring them same skills home, right? But all you were doing was using your spiritual gifts,
Hmm.
because you may be good in these particular areas. So I think that changing the language so that they hear the reward. versus the process. Because the process, they may not be interested. They like, listen, that's not helping me. And I'm saying it only because I think using the terms identity and gifts is a mature language that we understand. And the wife and the woman and the mom that you're called to serve to help her transition, I don't know if she's there yet. She wants it, but what's the result of her learning her identity in Christ? Like, what is that going to do for her as she's transitioning, as she's, experiencing some challenges in her marriage, and you're helping her identify her purpose as a wife? What are the results of that versus the process that you're going to take her through?
That's good.
So I want to help you identify I want to help you identify your purpose as a wife so that together you guys can generate more income in your household. I want to help you identify because understand, wives, we are the ones that push our husbands to the next level. So you can most definitely generate more income. It may not be necessarily out of your hands, but it could be out of taking the load off, helping with doing the household chores, whatever your routine looks like, but helping that wife identify that. How can I help us generate more income? Maybe helping with the financial budgeting, all the inside things that we know we do as what do they call as what do they call what did they used to call us back in the heyday?
Like administrative assistants,
No,
executive
for wives. Not stay. They
oh,
weren't stay-at-home
house
wives. They were,
house managers or
that type of thing. Because I gotta manage the grocery
homemakers.
bill. Homemakers. I gotta manage the grocery bill. I gotta manage your lunch, like all the things that we have to do. And it sounds like I'm not trying to be taken back into that error. But again, I'm talking about wives who understand that they have a purpose and
Right.
they're ready to learn what is that so that I can make my marriage work and operate in a more cohesive manner.
Right. I wonder too, is there room, and like you said, maybe being careful on the language that I'm using. I wonder if these moms know what their like gifts or their purposes or like their thing is that
Probably
they
not.
could contribute, you know what I mean, to the
Yeah,
household. Yeah.
absolutely. Probably not.
Yeah.
But again, instead of, and I'm not saying not to, talk about your gifts, but let's talk about the value you add to the house. You know the meme that was out. I don't know if you saw it, but the girl that talked about the guy who said, "Well, what do you bring to the table?" And she like, "I am the table." Like, what are you talking about? And it's we laugh about it, but that's the honest to God truth. Women have to identify what do you the value in your household. Your value isn't just in your 9 to 5, but then that goes back to that validation piece. So now I'm helping you build up your self-esteem. I'm helping you build up your confidence because you're more valuable in your home than you are at a corporate job. And I know moms don't we don't be wanting to hear that because like you said, I went to school, I did all of these things. I need to let the world know. But if you are raising little ones, your little ones are going to become our future. And if we aren't making household our first priority, then where does that leave our children? Where does that leave our spouses? Right?
Yeah.
So I would start there. I would definitely recommend expanding in the different areas of purpose, identifying, helping that mom transition. Most you'll find a lot of coaches helping people transition from their corporate to their 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship. What does it look like transitioning from corporate to a homemaker?
Right. And I think even like you said, taking the monetization out, I think really helps to open it up because when I'm talking with people, what they really like, part of the thing that they're looking for as well, which speaks to purpose, is getting unstuck. Like that's one
Mm-hmm.
of my like superpowers is
Mm-hmm.
helping people to get unstuck. So putting a strategic, like a vision to what it is that they're seeing and helping them to like move through it. And that doesn't necessarily have to equate to, making six figures or making 10 figures. A lot
Right.
of them, they
Right.
have some assignment or some project that God gave them, and they're getting stuck in the same things that we're talking about with all these things, which is like the
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism, like overthinking,
Mm-hmm.
validation, people pleasing. I want this thing to be perfect, and not being able to just move through it. And so
Absolutely.
I think that that part is really important, because I think that is how you don't lose yourself in the
Yeah.
roles of being a wife and being a mom, when
And
you
and help.
isolate because then you just translate those same things over to that. Then your kids become the
Yes.
validation. Your husband becomes the validation, because
Yeah.
you haven't
Yeah.
identified what those things are that make you unique and necessary to the puzzle, and how to use those things in your home, how to use them here. Okay, what else has God placed on your heart, to do as well?
Absolutely. One last thing, the purpose project, helping them identify the purpose project,
Okay.
whether or not it's business, whether or not it's transitioning to stay home, because that's a project.
Yeah.
That's a purpose project. If your family dynamic is saying it's best for someone to stay home because childcare is $1 million, or it's best for someone to stay home to do homeschooling, whatever their reason may be, that's the project. So helping them to shift how they're looking at their next in their season, and start looking at it like, oh, this is the project. Even with my marriage, if there's, like I said, if there's a trust issue with finances, if there's a trust issue with infidelity, what's the project? The project is rebuilding the trust. The
Right, right,
project is rebuilding. So those are the projects. So now we're expanding how we identify the project and make it more personal for them, but still allowing, if the business is the project, then we can work on that as well.
right, right. Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Do you
Definitely.
have any other questions for me?
No, I mean, I think that this is really good. This is really helpful. I think this is really helpful. I think there's a few things that I'm working on that probably fall a little bit more along the lines of the business side of things, but I think that that's just a matter of compartmentalization, because that's the piece we're talking about in terms of like, I can continue to do this because I also maybe use these skills and monetize them these other ways, but those things don't like have to come into the content, except maybe to say that you're able to do this, like this is possible, or this is a way
Absolutely.
that you can make this transition happen. So I think that that's good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this for you, because I can see you being that support, being that guide, um, helping moms, helping wives, helping women identify their purpose in their current season, in their current position, in their current um in their life. How do I do this? How do I, whether or not I'm finding or discovering purpose as a professional, if I'm finding purpose as a wife, if I'm finding purpose as a mom, if I'm finding purpose in transitioning from a 9 to 5 to a stay-at-home mom, how do I transfer those skills into the household? How do I transfer those skills into my marriage? How do I navigate the purpose of my position as a wife with my husband if he have a hard time believing, if he has a
Right.
hard time, how do I do these things? And having you, as my guide, as my support, to say, okay, let's try it this way, let's try it that way. You can still be successful in whatever season you're in whatever position that you're in. Let's identify what that looks like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I thank you so much for joining me for LaToya Coach My Life. I
No,
have
thank
again,
you so much.
I,
This was
I
amazing.
appreciate you. I appreciate you. This has definitely been something that I've wanted to do. This is not going to be the last that we do this. If this is something that you, as our listeners, if this is something that you would like to partake in, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, contact me. But before I do my end of the call spiel, I would like for Kelly to again share with us who you are, what you do, how you can serve your moms, your wives, the women that you're called to serve, and how can they contact you.
Yes. So thank you so much, LaToya, for helping me to really just pull back these layers and get clarity. I am Kelly McLean. I'm a purpose coach. I help inspiring stay at home moms to dig deep and discover their purpose and what God is calling them to do. I help them to transition into being all that they were created to be for their families and also to do the thing that God has placed in their heart to do.
Cool. How can they contact you?
Yep, you all can find me on Facebook at Kelly L. McLean. Also, my husband and I, we have a ministry called The Hope Ambassadors, and we're over on YouTube. And so those are probably the best ways. If you are interested in scheduling a call, I can put the link in here, but it's just bit.ly and it's connection call / KLM, but I'll put the link in there. So
Say it again. Bit.ly. Nope. Say it again. Bit.ly.
bit.ly.com / connection call, KLM connection call.
KLM connection with an S, connections call.
No S.
I probably should have got this before. Okay, is that right?
Let me make sure. Okay. That is it. Yep, that looks right.
Okay. So if you are a mom, a wife, a woman, and you are in a space where either A, you are ready to transition and stay home and be a stay-at-home mom, but you don't know what that looks like. You struggle with being confident in that transition. I encourage you to reach out to Purpose Coach Kelly. If you are a wife and you're trying to figure out what is my purpose in this marriage, what is happening, what is the purpose of this marriage, then I definitely encourage you to reach out to both Kelly and her husband at the Hope Ambassadors, just so that you can get that clarity. Understand, y'all, when you learn your purpose in your marriage, when you learn your purpose as a wife, it makes things a lot easier in your marriage. A lot of the things that you may disagree on, that you may fight with, you may argue with, when you know what your role is, a lot of those things, they're not as aggressive as they would be when you're both trying to figure it out. So I encourage you, for my wives, for my women, for my moms, if you're looking for that level of support to really help you identify your value and how do I add it to my day-to-day living, make sure you visit the link. Kelly's going to put it in the comments as well so that it's clickable, but make sure you guys visit the link, schedule a call. And Kelly, again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and put Kelly behind stage. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we close out, Kelly?
Nope, I think that's all. Again, thank you so much. This was amazing as always. And thank you everybody who was tuning in.
Cool. Thank you. Listen, guys, this was a fantastic moment. Listen, Chase Great is 13 years old. And when we first started Chase Great, we were really helping people identify their life's purpose. That was our overall goal. Then we began to transition into coaching coaches and offering kingdom curriculum, helping coaches to truly identify their life's cause so that they can monetize their ability to help solve a problem. As I stated before, Kelly has been connected with Chase Great for many years, and we've just recently launched Coach My Life Network. It is a platform where you can hire a coach that is specific to the problem that you are looking to solve. So if you have an area in your life and you're saying, listen, I need additional support, I need help in forgiving someone, you have a special needs child, I need help being a better mom to my special needs child, I have I've lost loved ones in my life, and I'm struggling with the grieving process. I'm struggling with, the process of losing a loved one. We have coaches on our network who are specific to your need. If you are interested in working with a Coach My Life coach, if you are looking to work with myself, I encourage you to visit us at www.coachmylife.com and schedule a call. We have several of our live coaching events set up over the month of September. So if you would like to be a part of this live experience, make sure you go ahead, click the link, and book a call. Again, don't forget to check out Purpose Coach Kelly. Make sure you follow her and her husband on Facebook at Hope Ambassadors, and you subscribe to their YouTube channel. And again, thank you guys so much for rocking out with me. If you have any additional questions or concerns, do not hesitate to drop them in the chat. Thank you so much, Crystal, Brittany, Terry, Lisa. Thank you guys so much for joining us and rocking out with us in the chat. We appreciate you, and we'll see you guys in our next live. Be blessed.